We're live. We're live. We're finally live. Welcome to you, the dealer. Welcome to our remaining panel. There's people who are not here tonight. It's the after draft. That means it's time to unwind. And we were unwinding before this came on. So there's some good stories. It's all good. And so what do you have to do? Just grab a dram, grab your book, and that beautiful book right there. And I'm going to recap. Dave, Drew, Kent, Nick, Sheila, and I did a deep dive into Lesson 9, International Whiskeys, talked about our favorite whiskeys coming out of this book as our influence. Author Robin Robinson there took us on another freewheeling. I don't know. You guys with the books are messing me up. No, we're good. I have to say it was a little bit sad at first because it's our last. That was our last whiskey book club. This is our last after dram with Robin. Well, until he writes another book, and we just started talking about some other books that I thought would be a good idea for him to write.
I got news for you. I got a proposal in right now.
Yeah,
and it ain't whiskey.
Oh, what is it? Okay, it's alcohol related then, and the stories behind it. Give us something.
Nothing. I can't. Not until.
Why did you bring it up?
Well, because I thought I'd just drop the little seeds in there just to kind of like screw things up here.
Well, hopefully we get you back on here and we do this all over again with something other than whiskey that you can't tell us about. So it's good. We're going to do another round
on cat food.
And I'm not doing cat.
I'd listen.
To do that one. And it's because you got a 30-pound cat.
It's gonna be huge. I'm telling you, it's gonna be big.
Huge. All right. And here's our current book. I want to put that up because I didn't talk about it, although you saw 50 copies flying back and forth, so that's good. Robin, let's get quick introductions again for everybody. I'll make everyone big. There you go.
Well, hey, I'm Robin Robinson. I'm the author of said book out there, and I live in New Jersey, right? I'm not a native. I'm actually from Pittsburgh, but I enjoy drinking. And here is the Isle of Skye, and there's the United States, and look, Canada's right above it. And right above me, right here, thou shalt not commit logical fallacies. So that's actually a poster of 25 logical fallacies, and these are 25 cognitive dissonances right here. So don't argue with me online because I've got them as reference.
Yeah, well, I wanted to put my thing down so we could see that. That's good. Excellent. Thank you very much. And we're going to go to Dave. Yep, buddy. Actually, no. Let's do this, and let's do Dave. Dave disappeared. There you are.
There he is.
You're back.
Yeah. I touched something I shouldn't have again. Jesus. Hey, guys, it's Yukon Dave coming from his basement, and I'm drinking one of my own whiskeys for once.
Done.
This is the Yukon Kino release.
Oh, my God, that was delicious.
It was in the
calendar.
Trying to think of Robbie Burns calendar.
Robbie Burns calendar. Tell us why that's a special bottling, though, because I like the story behind it, buddy.
It was made for the, I don't know if you call it a village, maybe, of Kino.
It's not a town, so a hamlet?
Yeah, maybe a hamlet. I've had two different reports. One says there's 24 people, and the other one says 22 people in this town. They turned 100, so we produced 310 bottles for them.
That sounds like actually a game you play in Vegas.
Yeah,
it is.
I think I lost a lot of money in Keno.
I'd lose money in anything. It wouldn't. Kent, you're up.
Hi, my name is Kent. I go for Whiskey Ass on pretty much every platform no one out there. I switched to, we were talking about some French, and so I switched to the French whiskey. And just to back it up, my wife found local, or somewhat local, it's Calgary. Yeah, it's gluten-free beer, and it's actually very tasty. So
excellent. And Cheryl's not on tonight. She's not feeling very well, so we're throwing out a lot of love towards Cheryl back there. So hopefully she feels better. And we're going over to Nick right now. Here we go.
Hey everyone, I'm Nick. I'm Black Cat Whiskey. You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. And I went digging in the shelves and found another international, and this is a Belgium whiskey I pulled out.
I didn't open mine. I got that too. And did you get it at Sherbrooke?
I did.
Okay. I need someone that's actually opened it so that I can taste it. Because yours is close to, and I wouldn't make you do that. But I'm Dolph. Hi. This is me. Right there. I don't want to say anymore. I'm done. I'm trying not to talk as much, but I can't stop. It's just one of those things. So, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to start with the subject that we tried to talk about before, the Indian-made foreign liquor. And I wanted Robin, if he could, to compare that to our own grain-neutral spirits that we have in Canada and the States. Because, and I have a quote. Here, there's the quote. Some distilleries, like the three profiled here, Amru, Paul, John Ramper, are making IMFL at higher quality, but still low price enough to fund their more expensive pursuits. So I didn't know that they were making kind of the cheap stuff to finally make single malts. And so my question to you, Robin, is do they still need to make this stuff? Because they're doing pretty well for themselves with single malts, right?
No, they're not. They're not at all. No,
Nope.
The single malts is a luxury. Think about this: Parker Heritage. You heard of those?
Nope.
Parker Heritage. The Parker Heritage whiskeys. How about Pappy Van Winkle?
Oh, okay.
Right. They're all coming out of Buffalo Trace. You know what else Buffalo Trace makes?
Something really cheap. Old
Fireball.
Granddad.
Fireball.
Fireball.
Really?
Fireball.
Right. They're owned by Sazerac, right? So
Okay.
so there's your comparison, right? When you're making Fireball by the millions of liters, that affords you the luxury of spending the time to make the Parker Heritage line, to make Pappy Van Winkle, to make Buffalo Trace, to make Eagle Rare, all the ones that actually kind of grab all the awards. Wow, you're pumping out all. There you go. Right. Yeah. Fireball. Right.
And that's even an old bottle. How long have you had that bottle?
Old. That's back when it's still Dr. McGillicuddy's. Right?
Yep.
Yeah.
But
But
after starting
No
the fire.
idea.
That is, man, I tell you what, you got that's some classic shit you got right there. Boy. Yeah.
So Fireball still sells a lot?
Oh my God. It's like,
Shooter.
yeah, I'm gonna say this. It's on fire, right? But so that's what IFML is, and IFML is actually portioned out in juice boxes. I am not even bullshitting you. They're juice boxes.
I'm a teacher, so I could have a juice box at lunch and no one would ever know the difference.
That's exactly what they are. They're paper juice boxes, and they go out like that. And there's a picture of one right there, right?
Yeah.
That's the Three Aces, right? This is the one that comes out of the Amru distillery, and Paul John has theirs, and Rado Kaitan is who makes the Rampur. And Radhiko Kaitan is like one of the biggest distilleries in India. So they all make this IFML, and it's processed, highly processed cane neutral spirit.
Okay. As opposed to the molasses.
Well, that's what cane neutral spirit is molasses. Molasses is cane, it all comes from cane, right? So the molasses is just a byproduct
of sugar cane.
It's just a byproduct of sugar production is what molasses is. And but that's where this emanates. So that's the base. And then they import bulk brandy, Irish whiskey, Scotch whiskey, American whiskey. They just bulk import stuff and then they blend it.
Okay.
That's what it is. That's exactly what IMFL is. Indian made foreign liquor, right? So they give you the indicator that a lot of the liquor is coming in from somewhere else. You know, when you think about France, about how big their brandy business is. It's bigger than you. I mean, you think about all the Hennessy that's pumped out, all the Courvoisier that's pumped out, you know, and yet there is stuff that's pumped out like crazy that you never hear about, you know, from all of the, you know, the six crew in France, you know, and in the Bois Ordinaire, which is the largest area of cognac. You know, these are terrible grapes out there. They're just barely, you know, the acidity level is barely palpable.
Yeah.
And the brandies that are made from them are going to all other places, you know, in the world. And India is importing a lot of it. So is a lot of whiskey. You know, when you go to Middleton is in Ireland. It's a massive alcohol factory. And between those three countries and the United States, fourth country, and probably a shit ton coming out of Canada as well. India imports it all, and then they blend it and mix it with this cane neutral spirit that they make in these, you know, again, 5-column multi-pressure, you know, distillation systems. And box them in those little boxes, man. I mean, I'm standing there in the bottling hall. It's not even a bottling hall; it's a boxing hall, I guess. You know, and watching these things coming down the ramp. You know, it's like, wow. You know, this is like, you know, what's that? What is a citrus sun? You know, in the United States, right? Yeah, citrus sun. Right? It's citrus sun only with alcohol, and then they are literally distributed everywhere. Everywhere. So it's the common man, working man booze. And
you don't hear about that though. It's not a common thing. So I'm glad we're talking to you about this, because I really didn't know about it. We know about cheap booze.
There's a couple brands that actually have broached. This is not just India. We're talking about on the entire South Pacific now. I mean, we're South Asia right now. Right. So let me think of the brand names. It'll come to me in a second. But there are some brand names that when you go to look at what are the top selling liquors in the world, number one is always going to be Baijiu from China. Right. Number two or number three is going to be one of these brands that comes out of India. Then number four is going to be like Jack Daniels. Number five is going to be Jameson. Number six is going to be like Smirnoff vodka. It's going to be kind of like, you know, in that order right there. Right. You know, Officer's Choice. That's what the name of it. Officer's Choice. Okay. Yeah. Now, or I've got one downstairs called Royal Challenge, and it's a Royal Challenge just to open this sucker up.
I've got Royal Challenge.
You do?
And it's horrible.
Well, then that's IMFL.
Keep talking. I'm finding it's good.
Yeah. So he's got it. So Royal Challenge is IMFL. It's Indian made foreign liquor, and it's, you know, for here you can get it like $11 a bottle, and
$7.50
for a $7.50. Oh yeah. Oh sure. Oh yeah. But you know, so I found it in this in an Indian-owned liquor store in Delaware. And it was down the bottom shelf, and I pulled out and I was going, oh man. And I bring it up to the counter, and the Indian, and the guy who's behind the counter is Indian. And he looks at me and he goes, you sure you want that? He said, do you know what it is that you're buying? I said, oh, I know absolutely what I'm buying. Yeah. So, because, you know, I'm walking in, you know, right. So but you know, in India, I mean, they're drinking this like crazy, right? Now, the other thing that they drink in India more than anything, they're actually the largest importers of this one brand anywhere else in the world, is Johnny Walker Black. They drink Johnny Walker Black as if it were like Coca-Cola, right? They're out on a soccer pitch, right? There you go. So there you go, Mutai, right? Mutai, Kwaital Mutai, which is the most valuable spirit brand. You know how big Mutai is? They're bigger than Dell. They're big, and Apple, and Disney and something else. They're bigger than those big four. That's how big this company is, right? And I can't tell what that second one is here.
It's Wild Guy.
Oh, okay. Well, all four, the top four are all Baijiu. Okay.
Wow. Okay.
And I was in China. I was standing in the distillery, the largest distillery in the world. It's 10,000 acres, just so you know.
Jeez.
Acres.
And you could put 2 international airports inside the fucking distillery. That's how big Baijiu is, right? Then you got Jack Daniels, Johnny Walker, Hennessy, Smirnoff, and then there's another Baijiu below it, and then there's Bacardi below that. Yeah, so there you go, right?
Wow.
You know, so and then Officer's Choice will be down there in the top 10. But yeah, oh, there you go, Royal Challenge, man. Yeah, there you go. You didn't open it yet, have you?
Oh no, I did just to smell it, so it's been cracked, but you can tell how much I had.
Yeah.
Right?
Sure.
Well, it's going to be a royal challenge, Dolph. That's all I'm going to tell you. You know,
I was going to do a international whiskey. I did do an international whiskey day, and I bought this to be in it. Just kind of, we call it a welcome whiskey, something that you just throw out there for people to suck on until you get ready for it. And I couldn't do that to people. It was but I'll bring it out to a fire, and
now you know the background of that stuff. Right. Yeah. So it's like Japanese whiskey, right? Japanese whiskey has no definition.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Although they tend to follow more of a Scottish style where they import, you know, and again, they import a lot of stuff from Middleton. They import a lot of stuff. It's all barley based, you know. They import a lot of stuff from Scotland. And then they blend it together with their water and maybe some of their spirit, you know, and their blenders, you know, approach in Japan. And that's whiskey. And for the Japanese, that's whiskey. And for the Indians, that's whiskey. It's, you know, but this shit,
serves a purpose for someone.
Yeah. Again, you know, I mean, it's you know, they put like they'll put it once, I think, called the Highlander. And yeah, they put like a Highland guy. You know, you gotta remember, this was an Indian. This was a British protectorate, a colony for, you know, how many years? You know, so they have a real thing for Scotch whiskey. And the Indian Americans in America, man, they're Johnny Walker Black drinkers. You know, serious. And they are serious Johnny Walker Black drinkers. You know. And Johnny Walker Blue, and you know, all the Johnny Walkers. Yeah, I was in Goa, which is the state where John Paul is at, or Paul John. So Goa is it's one of the very few Christian states in India because it was colonized by the Portuguese. And that's where Paul John, I mean, both of those are Christian names. You know, that's actually that's the name of the man who owns the company, Paul John. And so there's these there are these monuments throughout the villages there of Portuguese, you know, explorers and stuff. And the second most common monument is the Striding Man from Johnny Walker. You see the Striding Man striding through everything, man. He's like all over the place. Yeah. So yeah, you know, so
maybe that's a code for something. You've got the hobos that go from town to town, leave codes. Maybe that's a code for someone. Walk over here.
That's a code where you're going to get drunk over here.
You know? Robin, quick question. So I've got a friend who, Indian descent. He has people bring whiskey back from India, and it's Seagram's Royal Stag and Seagram's Blender's Pride. Are those all IMFLs?
They are indeed. Absolutely. 100%. Yeah. So Seagram's, you know, this is the brilliance of the Seagram's empire. Seagram's touched. Yeah. Seagram's touched. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Seagram's touched every continent except Antarctica, you know, and had an impact on whiskey production and whiskey quality. And so, yeah. And they had, you know, a lot of Seagrams when it got, you know, so Diageo owns most of that stuff in like United Distillers in India. right now, which is the largest distilling operation going on in India. And it's owned by, but that was a former Seagram's. So I think that stuff is actually now made by Diageo, but Seagram's, but Diageo owns the Seagram's brand name there. So, yeah.
All right. Another question, but actually, let's go back to this a bit. So the grain neutral spirits, we have Canada States. Is there kind of a commonality there that we could say?
Commonality with what?
With the IMFL.
Well, yeah, sure, there would be. So coming out of Gimli, and coming out of Lawrenceburg at current MGP, which was formerly the Seagram's, is a lot of light whiskey, and they're coming out of there is a lot of grain neutral spirit. So when you look at blended whiskeys, so the most famous is Seagram's Crown and Seagram's 7. These are what are referred to as blended whiskeys, and blended whiskeys by definition is a blend of no more than 20% of straight whiskeys and pretty much anything else, which is typically ends up being grain neutral spirit. I think the lower end Calverts are the exact same thing, right? The old Imperial that used to come out of Hiram Walker, which is pretty much like what we grew up, in Pittsburgh. In Pittsburgh, all the steel workers had an imp and iron. An imp and iron, which is a shot of Imperial and followed by a chaser of Iron City beer, which was the local.
Iron City. Old Froth and Slosh.
Yeah, Old Froth and Slosh. Oh, there you go, Dave. How did you figure that one out, man?
I've got a bunch of the cans.
Oh wow, they were the Christmas cans. Yeah.
Well, the radio station guys actually started a joke that they were drinking Old Froth and Slosh because the foam's on the bottom of the beer. and
that would actually happen in Pittsburgh. That shit was probably filled with iron fillings too, so the foam's at the bottom. Yeah.
That's a weighty beer. That's heavy.
Yeah, really. Yeah. You can shake that all you want. It's still going to settle to the bottom.
You don't have to worry about iron intake.
What's that?
Don't have to worry about your iron intake.
No. You had it. Those are back in the days when you actually had to have a church key, right, to actually open up the cans too. Imperial, all of those things were blended whiskeys, blended Canadian whiskeys, and blended American whiskeys, and so that would be probably the equivalent of IMFL, which is, and it would not surprise me that, of course, the genesis of that was the Seagram's Company.
Okay.
Yeah, Seagram's. It's the ultimate book on Seagram's has not been written on its impact. There is a great book on the Seagram's empire.
Okay.
But it's more about the empire. The ultimate book on Seagram's impact on whiskeys and spirits in the world has not been written yet, and that is going to be a telling volume when it gets written, because they're unequal by any Diageo, Pernod Ricard. They don't even touch it, right? Seagram's had impact. They had absolute impact. It's really amazing, this what Sam Bronfman built. Really tremendously amazing.
And then the fall from grace from these guys too. So and here's what's interesting. Sam said it. One of the things that Sam had said was he had a phrase called shirt sleeves to shirt sleeves in 3 generations. So he was prescient. He knew what the fall of Seagram's was going to be. It was going to be his grandson before his grandson was even born, right? Because that was his worldview of things.
That's funny. That goes right back to Davin's book, right?
What's that?
That goes right back to Davin's book. We noticed that a lot of great empires crashed at the 3rd generation.
All of them.
Third one always screws the pooch.
Yep.
Yeah.
And what was his? He wanted to buy into MGM Grand or something like that in California. It was investment.
Yep.
Well, that was part of it, but the most important thing he did was that the greatest bulk of the Seagram's income, they had a very, very diverse portfolio at that point, going through the 20th century. They were the largest shareholders of DuPont Nemours.
Right.
And they sold the stock in order for him to do the investment into Hollywood, because he got
Stars in his eyes.
Stars in the eyes. Yeah.
He got stars in the eyes, because at that point, and what was interesting in the 90s, is when you first started seeing the word media show up.
Okay.
Before you were just a broadcaster, before you were a news organization, and all of a sudden there was this sort of generic word that started to form, which was called media. And media was starting to take in all of these different areas. Of course, now the internet is actually becoming more and more, a part of the reality that we were dealing with at that time. And that was like, for example, a lot of the consolidation of a lot of the the old school Madison Avenue ad agencies all started having media outlets, which meant, well, we're doing things with CDs and we're doing things with this. And it was all of these different technologies that were showing up. And so that was incredibly dynamic at that point. And obviously for someone, with a fortune like Seagram's, it was an incredible temptation to be part of that empire. You remember that, what was it? AOL bought Warner. It was AOL Warner. And it was like AOL bought Warner. Warner had been around for generations. And then AOL bought it. And everyone went, what the fuck? That was this was called new media buying the old dinosaur and bringing it into the 21st century. And that's what Seagram's got involved in. And, he just took a bath. And he just took a bath. And now look at his cousin that ended up getting screwed, messing around with that Nexium cult. Claire Bronfman, right? She was she was financing that goofball Keith Raniere, so.
They're not getting any better. Nothing. The family's not jumping out of there.
Yeah, I'd say the brand is dead. I'd say the brand has got the mustard stain on the tie. Right.
So it's the third generation that screws it, but the fourth and fifth that really just pummel it.
They just bury it. They ain't ever going to come back. Wow, man. But yeah, it was Edgar. It was Edgar Jr. So it was Sam, and then his son Edgar actually expanded, and under his son Edgar, that's where the Seagram's Tower on Park Avenue popped up, and and they became this world renowned. Sam built the structure. The second generation took it and then enhanced it, and then the third generation who
didn't have to work for anything and really just screwed it all up.
Yeah.
That's it. Let's get back to some nicer things in the world. And we're going to talk about whiskey, selection of whiskey, prices of whiskey, and festivals. And I want to know from the panel, where do you think, and Robin, you've got the whole United States, but you can handle this. But Nick, Dave, and Kent, think about the other provinces. Which ones are the best for selections, prices, and festivals? Or is there one that's got them all?
Right here, Alberta.
I'd have to say here. Yeah.
For selection and pricing, yeah, I think New Brunswick is a close one behind us, is a close number 2.
And it's just because we don't have a provincial sales tax? Is that it?
No, we've got the privatized system. Everybody else has liquor control boards.
Yeah,
Oh, really?
I'm trying to get you guys to talk about it without me.
Yeah. We went private about 30 years ago. And it was back then, it was probably the best thing Alberta ever did. Unfortunately, they're still operating 30 years ago. They haven't got into the new world. So we're starting to see the decline of the private sales.
The benefits of privatization.
But we have this Nicole person that likes to just kind of grind them, spin them up. Yeah. And things are changing. So I think our group via Nicole has kind of opened their eyes that our world is not happy, and they need to get into the at least let's get into 2010, never mind 2020-ish.
But just talk to any of the other provinces, and they want to buy from Alberta because we have the selection and we've got the pricing.
Well, we're over 65,000 SKUs here.
Higher than that.
Or we higher than that? Last time I looked, we were.
That's total spirits.
Yeah.
Wow. Hey, how far do you guys live from each other?
Same city.
Same city.
Oh, okay.
We can get to each other in about within 25 minutes from the farthest.
So everyone's like 30, 45 minutes from each other then.
Yeah.
Easy. And
so you've got a privatized system then in Alberta.
Yep.
And the other provinces are all LCB.
Yep.
No, they're all provincial. Yeah.
Liquor Control Board. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very interesting. That's
BC and
I always thought
Saskatchewan.
British Columbia. I thought BC was actually a little bit more open, but I guess not, huh?
They've got their government stores and they have private stores.
There is power
really?
in that, though.
It's a hybrid.
Yeah.
There is power because they can draw and they have the money. And you think of Ontario and what they can bring in that we can't, because there are things that are not available to us, even though it's privatized.
Oh, I would imagine. Well, Ontario, that's your richest province, isn't it? Right?
Well, it used to be
probably the farthest
capita,
behind.
but not anymore.
Yeah. The Eastern guys there.
Yeah. No, it's good. So let's go to you, Rob. Actually, no, I still want to know about festivals for you guys too. Like, where would you like to live for festivals? And I'm going to throw out on Ontario, not just for the whiskey ones, but the beer festivals. They have some really cool stuff going on there. Whiskey Weekend at 40 Creek. In Ottawa, they've got beer festivals. And for it used to be called New Berlin, and they changed it. Kitchener, Ontario. They're the biggest North American. What happens in Munich? We have Oktoberfest, biggest Oktoberfest. So I'm going with Ontario for province for festivals. How about you guys?
Cool.
Yeah, I'd second Ontario because that's where everyone seems to go. A lot of reps, ambassadors don't make it past the Ontario border. They don't recognize that there's anything more to Canada.
Yep, Toronto.
I think when you talk beer festival, there's way more breweries in Ontario than there are here.
Maybe that's why.
And most of those breweries are actually selling beer in Alberta.
Which is good. I'll take their beer.
Yep. That being said, I mean, in the last couple of years, the amount of breweries that have opened up in Alberta has just been incredible.
Yeah.
We're over 100 now.
Yep.
It's okay. We're good. We want more.
Yep.
Robin,
we're catching up.
For any of the states that you're in, again, selection, price, and festivals, are you picking California, New York?
Well, the United States is kind of, there's three, Jesus. You'd have to think California, Chicago, New York. California is actually two markets. So Northern California and Southern California, they're almost as if like they were two different states. So I always look at them as two different markets. Rising fast, Denver, Florida, right? The rising markets, but Boston trailing, a lot of aficionados in Boston, but not the volume in there. Where the festivals are at, Whiskey Fest is the granddaddy of whiskey festivals, and that is three cities. That's Chicago, New York, and San Francisco. They just announced for this year they're all going to be pushed to the end of 21.
We're still going to do it.
Yeah, they just announced it like in November, December. They're going to do the Big Smoke also. So they own, because it's the Shanken organization, they own Cigar Aficionado, Wine Enthusiast, and Whiskey Advocate. And so they're going to combine them in Florida for the Big Smoke. So that's where the festivals are at. We've got, we're sidled by the 3-tier system here, the afterbirth of prohibition. And as a result, we've got 50 different states. We've got 50 different tax structures. We've got 50 different moralities.
Okay.
I was explaining to my wife today. So I live in New Jersey. A liquor store in New Jersey can sell wine, beer, spirits, soda, food, lottery tickets, glassware, whatever the fuck. It doesn't matter, right? It's like a grocery store.
Yep. Okay.
They go across the river to New York State. A liquor store can only sell spirits and wine. You want to buy beer, you got to go to a grocery store. You want to buy anything else, you got to go somewhere else. Okay. Then we have a way of, like New Jersey. I'll just do a New Jersey, New York thing. New Jersey, the number of liquor licenses is actually mandated as a finite amount in the state.
Like Montana. Yeah.
So there you go. Montana's like the same way. And a finite amount, and then each municipality makes the determination of how many liquor licenses will be available per capita. Per capita.
Okay.
So we have most of our restaurants in New Jersey are BYOB.
Oh, really?
Okay.
Yeah. Most of the restaurants, you bring your own bottle.
Do they charge corkage?
No, they typically don't charge corkage. No, because of that reason, right? Yeah. And so, if you got a really popular restaurant, you got a liquor store next door, yeah, you're doing well, right? And then, and yet, they can sell anything they want in the liquor stores, and one entity can have more than one license across the state if they want to. In New York State, it's a mom and pop state. One legal entity can have only one liquor license, and yet the number of liquor licenses are infinite. You can just buy one from the state.
Okay.
Right. But you can only own one. Now people get around it because now my wife has one, and my son has one, and so like that. But typically, legally like that. And that's and then there's Texas, which is a whole other fucking crazy shit down there, but there's 50 different ways to sell liquor in the United States. It's insane.
Well, I got a question for you, Rob. Earlier, you said that your daughter worked for a lady and they were self-distributing. What do you mean by that?
No, they're not. No. So, no. She works for actually a pretty well-known company called Hodling.
But let me go back a little bit. She was self-distributing on her bicycle.
Back with Brent. Okay, yeah. So self-distributing essentially means this. So in New York State, there's a big company called an importer called MHW, and her whiskey was being imported by MHW. And what they do is they can actually then assign them distribution. And then they do all the bonding, and they do all the taxing and everything, and registration for the states. But they don't have a sales force. You, the brand owner, has to be the sales force.
Oh, okay.
So that's how that works. So essentially, she now actually had a solicitor's license, which meant that she was legally allowed to carry a bottle or a case of whiskey and then sell it to a retailer and then close the deal on that, right? So, it's fucking Byzantine. Okay, it's fucking Byzantine, selling liquor in the United States, and this is how I make my living. I make my living as a not as an author. You know, I'm a consultant. I'm a sales and marketing consultant for small emerging brands that want to be in the United States, whether they're U.S. startups or coming from abroad, and because I know how. I'm the tour guide into the dark areas of the world, so I put together like narrative plans and sales and marketing plans and sales strategies, marketing strategies, sales techniques and stuff like that. And I teach people how to navigate their way through this Byzantine, tangle. And it's a tangle, man. It's like fucking crazy in here.
Well, so the reason I'm asking all these questions and I'm writing all this stuff down is I want to have some fun and I want to sell 50 cases of whiskey a year in the U.S.
Well, here's the one piece of advice I give you, Dave. Target your market. Okay.
I wanted to go to San Francisco.
Well,
just because I like San Francisco.
Well, that's insane. Okay.
I didn't say I was the smartest sales guy.
Well, okay, well, good, because I didn't want. That was number 2 thing I was going to tell you right there. Right? That's fucking insane. And here's why. It's like it's like people say, "Well, I want to come to New York." I said, "Really? Who the fuck are you to come to New York?" And to your thing, who the fuck are you to come to San Francisco? You know why? Because everybody wants to come to San Francisco. Everybody wants to be in New York. And who the fuck are you? Do you have the money? Do you have the time? Do you have the resources? No, you don't. So you make your brand. You create your brand in another market where your cost of sales is lower. Where your cost of sales is lower and you can make an impact. You can get people thinking about 2 brewers. You get people talking about 2 brewers. Your amount of competition is reduced. That's where you make your brand and you do your volume there. You make your brand there. And then you ever hear of Leopold Brothers?
Yeah, we talked about it.
Right. Leopold Brothers, they fucking owned Colorado for years. And then what happened is the other states came to them. The other states came to them. And when they come to you, now you've got negotiation. Now you've got negotiation power. Right.
Well, I tried to get into the San Francisco whiskey show and everything was going good till they told me it was going to cost $3,000 for an 8-foot table.
Fuck yeah. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
She said, well, you'll never get big if you don't do our show. I said, I can't get big.
Well, yeah, there you go. Right.
Yeah.
And that's just it. So which show was that?
Chicago, New York.
You're talking about Whiskey Fest.
Yeah.
Oh, fuck yeah. So Whiskey Fest is $5,000 a table, right? And if you do all 3, they'll give you a couple $100 as a break. And you really, Yeah. So when I was with Compass Box, John Glazer turned the U.S. budget over to me. He says, okay, this is your budget. Go ahead and do what you want with it. And I started looking at what Whiskey Fest was charging us. And I said, John, when we go to Whiskey Fest, we're just meeting more of the same people who we already have.
Yeah.
So why, this is, and at that time it was like maybe $3,000. So it was 3 times 4. It was 12, right? And I think my entire budget was like $20,000, right? I said, there's more than half my budget going to 3 shows, and promoting to people who already are fans. If I take that $12,000, I can do some fucking damage, out in the marketplace, doing bar spends and doing like all kinds of other things in retail where I'm going to actually see an ROI. And John, and the reason we did it is because John Hansel, who started up Malt Advocate and then Whiskey Advocate and Whiskey Fest, John pretty much helped build Compass Box. John Hansel did, because he was the first guy that got behind, and really kind of publicized them and everything like that. So there was a loyalty thing there. And I said, okay, well, then obviously we're not going to get in the middle of that. And we're always going to do Whiskey Fest, right? But for another small brand that didn't have that leverage that Compass Box had, it's insane. It's insane. You can't do it. And so you go to another marketplace and you have to do your homework. You have to find out where. So, for example, I was running with an absolutely fabulous cream liqueur from Scotland. Now, no one's ever heard of it, but they have it. It's in the UK. It's called Magnum, and it comes in a metal can that looks like a milk can. Yep. It's a stainless steel can. It's a 750, and it's made from Benriach, right? And Dutch cream, and it is the best cream liqueur you're ever going to taste, right? And I got it in my hands. Guys contacted me and said, help us with this. I said, okay, you know what? We're going to take this to Wisconsin. They go, Wisconsin? Well, I want to go to Wisconsin. I want to be in New York. You go, fuck you. You shouldn't be in New York. Because I tell you why. Because if you go and look at the numbers in Wisconsin, they're drinking this as if it was like Coca-Cola. They're drinking cream liqueurs. That's where rum chata.
Yep.
And that's where they launch their brands. They're drinking cream liqueurs up there. That's
the
where
land
you want
of cheese.
What's that?
The land of cheese.
The land of cheese, man. Well, what's going to take cheese better down than like a cream liqueur? They're drinking Baileys out of the wazoo, right? This is where you launch this brand. They didn't want to. They thought I had like 6 heads, But see, that's just it. You have to actually kind of take a look. You have to really do your homework and really do your homework on where something like yours is going to find what we call the low-hanging fruit off the tree, so that you can pick this stuff off the ground and you start getting a little bit win. Start sounding like Donald Trump, but win. And that's how you create a brand. Otherwise, you're just a peddler of a product, and shit, no one cares. Nobody cares.
Kind of like these guys.
Oh, that's so funny. Big rig. That's
right?
It's like an oil rig. Is that what that's supposed to be?
Yeah.
That's
so
great.
They started up in Leduc, which is where the first Alberta oil well was actually developed. And they started as a small company. These guys, they haven't even been in business a decade yet, and they are now selling into the U.S. market.
Well, that doesn't mean anything.
No, but for they are a small.
Look, I'm not impressed.
Okay.
I'm not impressed by anyone. Yeah. I tell you what, because I came out of the Silicon Valley.
Yeah.
You can't impress me, and no brand can impress me before their 5th year. Yeah. After your 5th year, okay, I'm fucking impressed.
Yeah.
Okay. Before that, you're just nobody cares. Nobody cares about you. This is the most saturated market for spirits right now than in the history of mankind.
Yeah.
Okay, let me put that in perspective, right? In the history of mankind, it's the most saturated market for spirit. And where are they going? Well, they're going to Toronto, going to New York, they're going to Chicago, they're going to San Francisco, they're going to Miami, they're going to Denver, they're going to Tampa, and then that's the big areas right there. Everybody wants to go to the same place, and if you don't have the money, you're just going to get eaten alive, and you're just going to, it's just, you might as well just take all of your money and throw it in a black hole or burn it, whatever metaphor you want to use. But, that's how it works. You start small. Yeah. I always tell people, you own your backyard. Yeah. You own your backyard first. Once you own your backyard, then the market gives you permission to go to your neighbor's yard.
Yeah. I mean, we're finding them pretty much in every liquor store throughout Alberta, BC, Saskatchewan.
How long? For how long have you seen them?
For how long have you seen them?
In the same those stores.
At least, well, we're into the 5th, 6th year now.
Okay, then that is a brand right there. Then that you're talking about that vodka brand you just showed me.
Yeah.
Then that's a brand, because the number one thing that a small brand needs to do is what's called depletions and pull through.
Yeah.
So placing it up on a shelf, that's the easiest goddamn thing in the world. Getting the second order, second order, third order, fourth order, that's a brand. If they're sticking around for 4 or 5 years, these guys have got something to talk about. Yeah, absolutely.
Robin, you're talking about some market saturation. Do you think this is going to lead us into another whiskey lock?
Not in the foreseeable future. This is a long-term trend. This is not a spike.
Okay.
This is a long arch here. So yeah, I see brown spirits, of which whiskey is the leader, as being a long-term trend. Yeah, and I'm not alone on that, and I'm basing this on projections from just about every data point out there in the universe right now as well, plus my own observation. But oh yeah, this is trending for a long time. Now, what we're going to see is I break these things up into 3 areas. One is called the first tier, second tier, and third tier. So the first tier is typically what happens at the beginning of any trend. And so y'all ever hear of Malcolm Gladwell?
I've heard the name.
Yep. The Outliers.
Yeah.
Well, the Outliers is about who? About the Edmonton Oilers, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Right. And what did he have to say about the Edmonton Oilers? Why was the Edmonton Oilers a dynasty? Right? Is because 90% of all of the players were born in January.
Okay.
Think about that. Think about that from a perspective of an athlete. If you're born in January, what's your advantage? What's your advantage of other people who were born in the same calendar year as you in the same year of school? You're bigger.
You're older, bigger. Yeah.
You're bigger. You're more coordinated. You're stronger, right? And so that means you get more attention. And when you get more attention, then more resources come to you, right? And boom, 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 right? So Gladwell actually, and he used the Edmonton Oilers as actually the object lesson in why we have to really kind of rethink success, right? So the idea behind all of this is that we're on this long trend right here, and in the first parts of the trend is what I call the first wave. And the first wave is the bleeding edge adopters, right? The ones who pick up on some kind of thing happening out there, and they grab it in, and they make this part of their aesthetic. And they make it part of themselves, and they share it with just a very small amount of people, because it's the cool kids right there, right? And when you think about whiskey, it was really the cool kids in the early parts of the 21st century that were picking it up. Everybody else was doing other kinds of shit like that. And then it grows and grows and grows and grows. And then it breaks off into the second tier. The second tier is when the influencers come. Now, these are people who kind of pick up on that. They want to be part of that cool thing. But now they're all about sharing it with as many people as possible. Right. And especially when you see the adoption of social media in the past 10 or 15 years, the second tier now picks it up and they say it's ours and we want everybody to know about it. And that just grows and grows and grows and grows. And then you get to the third tier. If you look at this like a bell curve, it's kind of going up with a long tail here. And then it starts kind of going up like that. And the third tier is right up here at the top. That's the third tier. That's the top of the bell curve. And that's when it breaks open into the wide general public. And then that's when all the money people come in. And that's when change is happening. That's when you start seeing the people in the first tier. They start saying, yeah, maybe I'm looking to look for something else now. Right?
And get out and sell.
It's not cool anymore because everybody's got it. And when everybody has it, then they change it into all kinds of other things. All the flavored whiskeys that are coming out right now, right? That's where the big changes are coming. All the different variations. What is whiskey now? We have no fucking idea because now everybody's, right? But yet it gets bigger and bigger and bigger because it goes into wider adoption, right? So from a commercial perspective, it makes perfect sense to go in there, right? But then from a brand perspective, it makes it even more difficult because you can't grow the brand, right? So that's where you start, and that's where right now we're at that tipping point between second tier and third tier right now, you know. So we're breaking into a wider adoption of what whiskey is, a wider definition of what whiskey is. You know, I was just at a liquor store earlier this evening, and there's some guy here in New Jersey. Honest to God, this shit isn't going anywhere else but northern New Jersey, right? Because he's from, and he's pulling some stuff in. It's called dumbass liquor, right? And he's got these bottles that look like they were made on Microsoft. These labels look like they were made on Microsoft Word, slapped onto these bottles, and there's every different kind of flavor and crazy names for it, you know. And it's all like, you know, this is bullshit, and I'm going to tell you so on my label. Now, it's kind of brilliant. What's that?
And now you want it. Yeah.
Well, it's kind of brilliant in a way because, you know, it's kind of got that populist home style. Hey, I get it, you know, and I'm in it too type of a deal. It's just that, you know, like there's one that's honey flavored. It's called Biatch, right? Okay. And there's all kinds of ones that's chocolate flavored, and one's like a bourbon, like, you know, shit. And but it's all, you know, he sources all this, you know, probably gets it from MGP, like get some Duff barrels from MGP, and then flavors it up, you know, and it's still legitimately whiskey. But he's got a really interesting marketing approach to it. And that's very third tier, very, very third tier, right? Now it's the common persons. Now everyone's drinking it. Now everyone's talking about it, right?
And like Fireball.
Well, Fireball was the lead on that. Yeah. But absolutely. And what was Fireball? It was the old McGillicuddy stuff, right? Mm-hmm. And I just saw that. In fact, in the same store, I saw some of the old McGillicuddy stuff that's still there. It's kind of relabeled, but it's still McGillicuddy's. You know, yeah, right. But actually, it's a different label than that. So that's actually like an old school one. But there's McGillicuddy's is actually now relabeled under McGillicuddy's now after Fireball got, like, you know, pulled off as its own brand. Yeah, but yeah, it's amazing what's going on right now, you know, and I'm blown away at the amount of whiskey. And here's what's the good news: the amount of good whiskey.
Yeah,
because if you're going to be out, or good spirits altogether, because if you're going to be out there on the market, if you don't have game, dude, you're back in the locker room, you know. You got to have game out there. You got to have something that people are going to come back and say, wow, I want that. You remember Hendrix?
Yeah.
Wow, Hendrix was, you know, thing about what I've always been impressed by William Grant, except recently. You know, they're kind of like starting to show that some you know, starting to show their scenes right now. But William Grant for the longest time could do no wrong. I mean, I thought nobody executed like William Grant. You know, they created, you know, Glenfiddich, you know, which was really the first single malt, right? Exported. And then they turned Balvenie from like an unknown thing into, like, you know, the must-have whiskey, right? And then they turned their thoughts on gin, and they created Hendrix Cucumber. Are you fucking kidding me? And it was like, right? They blew everybody away with it, right? So, but they did their and Monkey Shoulder. You know, we launched when I was with Compass Walks. We launched Great King Street at the same time as they launched Monkey Shoulder, and we were after the exact same market, and it couldn't have been the worst timing because we had this really kind of elegantly blended Scotch whiskey, you know, Great King Street, and they had a blended malt Scotch whiskey, and they were $10 less than we were, and they marketed it as a triple malt. Now, no one knew what the fuck that meant. This was after the Scotch regulations had been changed in 2009, where they had actually gotten rid of every other term like pure malt and blended, and they called everything blended malt or a blend or a blended grain, you know. And so, you know, we had launched Great King Street, beautiful, delicious, elegant blended Scotch whiskey, and they launched Monkey Shoulder. It's a blended malt, a triple malt, focused, boom, straight at the bartending world, because they had already had a couple of years of background on that in London, right? Test marketing this in all London, all the bartenders in London at the Connaught and all those top places like that. Monkey Shoulder was their thing, right? And they came out and just crushed. And they did it in 2 states. They went to Illinois and Texas. That's all they did.
Okay.
That's all they did. And they killed it.
Wow.
And now it's in every store.
Now it's everywhere. They killed it. Brilliant. A brilliant fucking, and they were $10 less than we were too.
Yeah.
That killed it. Right. That killed us. They were $10, and you know, and they had much more volume. That, you know, we were artisanally blending this stuff. They were doing a great job. It was Brian Kinsman who was actually behind this, you know. But you know, Kinninvie, which was most of the whiskey that was in there, was like this big, massive distillery that was actually just used for all of their bells. You know, I mean, I'm sorry, for all the grants blended. So they just started like siphoning this stuff off, and they throw a little Belvedere and throw a little Glenfiddich in there. You know, it was mostly Kinninvie. You know, so they were out to be able to put volume out there, and you know, and able to kind of, you know, yeah, but brilliant, and it's a very good whiskey. It's a delicious whiskey, you know. But that's a perfect example of somebody who executed so well, and had a great product behind them as well. So, you know, that stuff came out. It was delicious. It was good to drink. You can drink that solid. You can drink that straight, and you put that in a cocktail, right? And you can put it in there at a price point that allow that cocktail to actually be viable. And man, you know, you can learn a lot from your rivals. You know?
Well, it is good, and you could have it straight. I've done I on the rocks in the summertime. It's good.
It's very good. It's very, very good whiskey. I mean, I enjoy it. You know, I like to have whiskeys like that with like one brick, one brick of ice. And
well, we give them their kudos, but Compass Box deserves theirs too, because I like the whole lineup.
I mean,
Compass Box. One out of Compass Box I don't like, but I'm going to cut this all off. We're now in 3 minutes. I got one last question for you, Robin. Did we pass the complete whiskey course?
I'm giving y'all an A and a gold star.
All right.
But not for Drew and Sheila. They're playing hooky. They're out. They're doing something else.
That's right.
They don't get their certificate.
They get an A-.
Give them the gentleman C.
No,
you know what? I'm giving them a B+.
Okay, good. That's it, guys. That's it. That's our very last one with this lovely man.
Hey, who's your next author? Who you having next?
Daniel Yaffe.
Yaffe.
That one right there.
Drink more whiskey. Everything you need to know about
Yeah.
your new. I don't know. Is this brand new?
My
this
book's at
came out-
Golf's house.
Well, yeah. Well, and you got it. You know what? The date, I think it's 3 years old.
2013.
Yeah,
No, 7
2013.
years old. Wow.
Oh, wow. Okay. Wow. Okay. So that book's been around there for a while. So where's
It's a
he from?
history book.
He is in, I'm going to say California, but I can't remember where right now. We're going to find out a lot really soon.
San Francisco.
San Francisco? Okay. All right.
Well,
Great.
you're going to have to come in.
Well, fabulous, man. We'll enjoy it with him. Absolutely. White Dog Scotch Rye Bourbon. Oh, wow. Okay. Well, that was 2013. That's back when White Dog was a thing.
Yep.
Oh, okay. Cool.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you. Thanks, panel. Thanks, Dave, Kent, Nick. Thank you very much, Robin. And I'm pretty sure I could say this for everyone else. Thank you for your time, your energy, your knowledge, your passion. Thanks for being there with us all these weeks. Fantastic. And I said it before, I'm going to see you on social media again because you're pretty active on social media, but we really do want to see you in person one day. So we're crossing our fingers, guys. It's going to happen. So here we go. Hold up the glass. Here's a good company. Here's good whiskey. Here's good books. Here's a good conversation. There's the good book in the background. You see it. And here's to see you all in 2 weeks, Saturday, February 6th, 2021, for our Whiskey Book Club's 8th book.
Right.
Drink more whiskey. Everything you need to know about your new favorite drink with author Daniel Yaffe. Final note, you like it, subscribe, hit like, and that's it. We're done.
Thanks, guys. This was great, man. Greatly appreciate it. Thank you so much for having me in here. This was more than enjoyable. I was honored to be in your presence. So
We're honored to have you.
Yeah.
Oh, amazing.
Thank
Thank you.
much.
Yeah.
Very much.
And
All right.
your next book, we're going to sign you up, no matter what it's about, unless it's cat food. We've decided. But
All right, man. Look,
Hey.
next year, together in person.
done. All right.
Excellent.
Good night, guys, and cheers,
We're on.
Sláinte, whatever it takes.